think this is Castor's third time with the mat, and I'm going to try to get him to start staying on it while I leave. So he's already, as soon as I put the mat down, he's putting 2 feet on it. That looks great. I'm pretty happy with that. Um, he's still kind of anticipating going forward, so I should have been rapid fire feeding over and over and over, click feed, for having those 2 feet on the mat. That is the part that he's missing right here. So just like all my other videos, it's not perfect. Like here, he doesn't have enough reinforcement history with staying on the mat with his 2 front feet. So when I scoot back, he's like, I'm supposed to follow. That was much better. I need to be a little bit quicker with giving him my reinforcement here. Again, he really wants to be next to me, and that's what we're trying to fix because that was my creation accidentally, and that's what we're trying to work on here. So this looks good. That's much faster with feeding. That looks really good. So I shouldn't have been moving on to the moving away part yet. He is getting it, but I should have been click feed for him having those 2 front feet on that mat first, and I wouldn't have had those steps off like nearly as much, and that confusion there, but he is getting it. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend going into moving away super quick. I'd make sure like he is seeking out the mat, but I want him to want to stay there a little bit more. So if he's stepping off, like you need to like charge the mat up more. So it's just a target, just like everything else. It's just a target for the feet. So, but this looks pretty good. Like I'm not too mad about it. There's a couple things we could make better, but take a step or two back, click feed, and then go back in. And he's starting to get it here a little bit. He's very, very smart. So even though I make quite a few mistakes, not crazy big ones, but quite a few ones, he's still doing well and still understanding. Unfortunately, I'm kind of blocking his face right here, but I mean, you get the idea. You can kind of see his ears a little bit. Take 2 steps back, click, and come back in. So I could probably walk back and click and then come back to him sooner. Um, if he wasn't catching on so fast, he would could leave in between here because I'm leaving too much space. So you don't want to change too many things at once. Like here, I've moved 2 steps and now I'm waiting like 5, 6 seconds. So I've increased 2 different criteria at the same time. I wouldn't recommend doing that. Like I've gone 3 steps and I've increased the duration and the time he's staying there. So try to do one or the other. So take 1 step, take 2 steps, take 3 steps. Then after you've gone to whatever many steps you want, then go ahead and do, okay, I take 1 step for 3 seconds, then 1 step for 5 seconds, 1 step for 10 seconds, and then 2 steps for 3 seconds, 2 steps for 5 seconds, 2 steps for 10 seconds, and so on. But I've kind of added those in together at the same time. So if your horse is having frustrations, definitely make sure and that he's not doing that. So another thing that I'm doing, I'm filling up and then he's has too much time between me feeding him and me getting the food. So like I'll get too stuck on the task of, oh, okay, I need more reinforcement, and then I won't reward him to like as soon as he needs to be rewarded. So that was a good little like test at it. Like I get close to the bucket and he stays, and then I come back. So, but again, I've jumped from I was over here at this part of the screen at 3 steps to like now I'm 5 steps the other direction, and now I'm trying to go forward multiple steps. So you can see, I mean, he has good reason to be confused. So this one, like many of my videos, is not a how-to. It's just, hey, I'm critiquing it. These are the things I would do better. These are the things that are going to help you out. And then you'll see later on with my other videos, finished behaviors and how I actually taught them in a correct way. Like this works. Like he stands on the mat and he's fine because now I kind of broke it down. So I saw that he was following me because he was confused because I don't always give him a consistent cue to lead off with me. So that's why he's confused and he wants to lead with me all the time. And he doesn't necessarily understand that he can get reinforcement by waiting and I leave and then I come back. This is why I want to do this lesson, but I noticed that he's following me, and then I did 1 step forward, click and reward, 2 steps forward, click and reward. That's probably going to be too fast for a lot of horses. So do know that. So, but I'm just doing a few steps away. I am out of camera, but I mean, you know where I went. Like, you can tell. As long as you see Castor here. But that looks good. Like, for all the mistakes that I'm making, he's doing quite well. Like he's staying on the mat and he's waiting for reinforcement. He doesn't look super frustrated. Then I give him the cue, which you couldn't really see, which is my hand just holding out in front of him as a target. And he's got his tail on the thing, but he didn't get worried, so that's excellent. And then I just turned him around real quick here. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So be sure to teach this on both sides. And I shouldn't have done this. Like two different sides of the horse. I act like I've never done this on this side, even though he's probably going to be better because we did do it on the other side. He does have an understanding. I shouldn't have immediately gone to the bucket and went 4 steps away and spent a few seconds there. Like I do 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. So same thing here. I'm like, oh, he's standing on the mat, so I'm just going to go to 4 steps right away. He's getting it, yes, but your horse might not. And he struggled with in the beginning because I'm making too big of a chunk. It's not a small enough piece for him to understand, which he is understanding, but I should have broken it down and done all the little pieces. So that is what I would change here is definitely just do on 1 step. And then I mean he's understanding it, so you don't have to do 1 step 3 times and then 2 steps 3 times. Like I could have done 1 step away from him, then three, then two, then three, then four, then five, and then build up the duration faster. But I want to make sure that he's good at all those steps. I don't want to just go to 4 and then go to 10. I want to make sure he's good at each step, even though like there's little steps in there. I want to make sure he's cool with all of them. And then even if like I didn't necessarily need each step broken down, I'm rewarding him more often and I'm just building a more solid behavior. So there's really no harm in doing that at all. So it's just good extra training. Make sure that everything is fine. So here he's stepped off because I haven't broken things down for him enough. So if things were broken down enough, he wouldn't be stepping off this mat. So I gotta put him back on. So again, I should have gone back to rapid fire and feeding him over and over again once he's got those 2 feet on. I'm just gonna back him up, reset, try to put him back on the mat. So my thought was he couldn't see it as well. He's got some sand on there, so I'm just gonna dust it off. There we go, click feed. This is the position that I want. So that looks good. Reward him for that. Yeah, that's much better. There. So that wasn't so bad. That was actually pretty good. I clicked fed him a few times for being on the mat. Then I took a little baby step over. And then I took too many steps and then he's coming off the mat. So I started off good and then I went over here to the left of the screen and took too many steps and he's stepping off. So you can see how in the beginning he was like, okay, I kind of got this, but I took too many big chunks and now he's like, I don't know, I don't get it. So now I'm like, I don't understand. I took too many big chunks and he's not completely solid. So I'm just going to give him a little timeout here for a second and then I will put him back. But yeah, that is what happened. I was just like, oh, this is working, which you can get like with clicker training. You're like, oh my gosh, this is working. This is great. I'm going to do more and more and break off these big pieces that my horse doesn't understand yet. And then later on, the behavior breaks down and you're like, I don't understand why. Like, I thought he knew what he was doing, but he didn't. So I cut out that. I just turned him around, put him back over here. There we go. Okay, so I should go back to, okay, so the mat isn't as reinforcing as it needs to be, so this is going to be a really reinforcing target for you. So I should have been rapid feeding here instead of taking steps back right away, because he's still kind of got some movement there. Like he moved that right front foot. I mean, I did break it down to where I'm just taking a couple steps, so that is better. So that is nice. Like I saw that the behavior wasn't working, go back and do a couple steps to build the behavior back up. So that does look better. A couple steps. Borderline too many steps there. Because I'm really like, oh, I want to fix the problem. Like he started leaving when I started walking like away to the left of the screen here toward his hindquarters. So I really want to work on that. I really want to fix that. So again, breaking it down. In this case, I am doing actual steps because I'm walking away from him, but I mean, you got to break things down into little pieces so the horse understands. So that's what I'm trying to do here. This looks much better though, because I did break it down for him. Depending on your horse, like that's part of knowing your horse, like how many steps does he need? How confident is he in his work? All those different things come into play. So just kind of have to see how they are, but he is doing quite well. even though I haven't communicated to him in the best way. And you've seen with all the mat work videos, like this is his third time, fourth time. The first couple of videos were really bad. Like I made a lot of mistakes. So um, this looks good though. I give him a nice clear cue to come off the mat, ask him to stop. That looks really good. So I'm pretty happy with that. And you have to be careful, like, and giving him that clear cue to come off so that he knows when he's supposed to be there. In the beginning, it's just the presence of the mat is going to be for him to go on it. So I'm happy that he went on it. And but be careful because you don't want him leading and then he just goes on it whenever. So you do want to put a cue on that pretty soon after, but he doesn't need one at this very moment.